post here yesterday. Um, as we know, like the pace of the game, I think the first 20 minutes always be quite frantic. So I thought our guys did generally pretty well. Um, Managed to score a try, obviously, which was just after the yellow card. It's a pity, we couldn't quite get the next score. Billy LaRue obviously gets good space in the backfield, which gets that 50-22, which then leads to Bulls scoring with 14 men, and then suddenly it's 7-all. And that was probably a window where, we could have potentially pushed on. So, but again, like, listen, Bulls, I thought they managed that well, that period in particular. So, um, again, they scored. I thought it was a well worth try. They scored at the start of the second half on the short side. So, again, our guys, I thought a lot of credit to them. I thought they'd show good character in terms of how they fought back into the game, and we ended up scoring a good try. And we had lots of good phases. Couldn't quite get that next hammer blow, really, could we? So that was probably the piece. Thought the bench guys, they came on, had a good impact. Obviously, then Bulls score a very good try where they get that catch. And I'm not saying it was against the run of play, but again, it was just a good bit of individual skill, wasn't it, for a try? So yeah, listen, our guys are pretty disappointed. We knew it's going to be a tough challenge coming over here. They've thrown a lot into the game, and unfortunately, we just come up short in the narrowest way, really. So yeah, no, bitterly disappointed for our guys.
Yeah, obviously the obvious question is going to come up, and I'm sure if I don't ask it, somebody else is going to ask it. Third season URC not getting through to the final, and obviously without a trophy now for the third season.
Yeah, listen, like there's so much, when you're fighting on two fronts, like it takes its toll, definitely, for sure. But from our point of view, listen, we're very, very close to it, and that's the thing. So, this group won't be the same again, like every squad at this stage of the season. So, we've got some great servants that are moving on. We'll have some other players that will come into the group next year, and we'll go again. So, we'll do everything we can to try and get ourselves into this situation again and be better. So, hugely frustrating the way that has played out for us. It's always a challenge in this season, particularly if you think World Cup. The length of the season, our guys are on the go since probably pre this time last year. So it's like there's always challenges of these types of seasons. So for now, listen, we'll go back and reflect and make a plan for next year and make sure we come back stronger.
A lot of you guys hadn't been to Loftus before. A lot of them will be returning in a couple of weeks' time in Royal Green jersey. Do you think they picked up valuable experience here for that?
Well, they had probably a little bit more time in terms of planning the trip anyway. But yeah, listen, I'm aware of some of the plans that they have for a couple of weeks' time. So, but definitely it's a great experience for them to really experience it. I'd imagine Ireland will travel out a little bit earlier than probably what we did. So, but yeah, listen, it's an amazing atmosphere here today. It's a fantastic stadium. I thought the Bulls showed, a lot of fight, a lot of physicality. Again, like we knew that they would. So, and I thought they really, you've got to give them a huge amount of credit for the way they performed today.
You mentioned that you struggled to just get that final hammer blow in at the end. Obvious question as well. Do you think it has something to do with altitude? The guys looked really tired towards the end.
Yeah, like I think you see the Bulls guys that were going down as well, any break and play. So there was players going down. Even the Bulls guys who were used to the day in day out of playing here. So listen, I thought our guys looked okay, to be honest, in comparison. So, but you've got to give a lot of credit to the Bulls for the way they fought. And they stuck in the contest. So they were making tackles, getting back on their feet, and they showed that desperation in terms of their defence. So I think that was probably the difference. We couldn't just quite get across the line there. So there's parts maybe we can do better for sure. Yeah, but again, you've got to give the Bulls the credit that they deserve, because obviously they're coming up with big moments defensively, where they're barging breakdowns, making life difficult for us, and we couldn't just quite get over the line, unfortunately.
Coach, you mentioned that Bulls had a bit more intensity today, just a bit more bite. Do you think just your team found it difficult to make that adjustment in terms of going up against the home side?
Yeah, listen, I thought our guys were. It's not like we weren't in the contest, were we? So we're there in it. As I said, like there was probably a big swing. We get 7-0, we go 7-0 ahead. There's still another 8 minutes on the bin, and that's a period where we need to ram home our advantage. But again, like Villy Rue, we don't quite get the backfield right. He exploits the space. They get the line out. They build a bit of pressure on us, and obviously they score eventually. So they hit us with a try at the start of the second half. But I thought our guys were composed all the way through that period. So we fight our way back into the game. We build some good pressure. Eventually get over from the tap penalty play that we score off. So. And again, there's a moment, isn't it? Like it's an aerial contest, and Bulls get it and they score a try, and that's the difference between the two teams. So there was nothing really in the contest, I didn't think. As I said, two very good teams going at it. Unfortunately, we just weren't quite good enough today.
Just one last question. Just in terms of game management from the side, would you feel like maybe you left a lot on the field in terms of just playing in the right areas and managing just the tempo of the game?
Yeah, like I thought we want to be able to play with a high tempo as well. So Bulls tried to lift the tempo, I think, in the early part of the game. After half time, because the game, it's a bit clearer in terms of what we needed to do. So particularly when we're 10 points down, but listen, I thought we were pretty dominant for that period of 15-20 minutes. And when the bench guys came on, I thought they all added impact in their own different ways. So I said there wasn't much in it, but again, Bulls come up with a couple of big turnovers at some vital moments, and I said that's the difference. But you've got to give them a huge amount of credit for the way they hung in there.
Coach, the amount of kicking surprised a lot of people. Did you get hold of Jack's game book, or did he get hold of yours? Or is the question of two great minds thinking alike?
Well, I just think that's part of the game, isn't it? Like you're playing big games at this time of year, and particularly some of those early exchanges that you're making sure you're not playing yourself into trouble. Some of our contestable kicks were good. When it went to the long kicking game, probably Bulls maybe shaded that area of the contest, but so we were just trying to get a little bit of balance there. But yeah, listen, we know, in terms of Cousin and Philly LaRue, like they're two very good exponents in terms of obviously they're used to the grounds and the conditions, etc. So, but yeah, as I said, like it was an unbelievably close contest, and unfortunately we are not the winners at the end of it.
Coach, you mentioned that some of your players will be moving from the team after this particular season. Is that not a worry that you might have to then start the process again after having such a settled, dominant group? Now that you probably have to start another process again, does that not make you worry about the next season?
Well, I'm always worried, so I am. So. But I suppose there's always a natural bit of evolution to that. So we've some players will join us as well. We've some more younger guys who will come through. Listen, like the age profile of our group is pretty good. There's lots of experience being accumulated all the time. Some has been positive, some of it unfortunately hasn't been. The guys that are there, like they should be proud of the efforts that they put in this season. As I said, this has been our 6th playoff game. We've lost a game. It's a game that was all square with whatever it is, 15-20 minutes to go, and as the Bulls come up with a big individual moment in terms of an aerial kick. So it's again, like sometimes it's painful for this to go through, but I would have strong belief in the group and the players that we have, that once they get over the line, they will be able to kick on and be hugely successful in terms of some of the trophies that they will potentially win into the future. So. But yeah, for the guys that are here, we've some great servants that are going to leave the group. Ross Maloney came off the bench there today. He's played over 180 games, I think, for Leinster. Michael Alatoa came off the bench as well. He's been fantastic since he's joined us from the Crusaders. We've a guy, Ed Byrne, he's travelled here with the group, but he was in the travelling reserves for this week again. Someone that's given over. He's played over 100 times for the club. So, but those guys have been replaced by younger guys that will come through and fill their slots, and that's the evolution of the group that we have primarily. We have a few overseas signings that are coming in. We have some players that didn't travel that again will finish up at the end of the season as well. So yeah, listen, I think that's just the natural evolution of the group. I think our numbers generally stay pretty similar. We want to keep investing in the young guys all the time, and we've got some good young guys that will be hopefully the stars of the future.
And also, does this seem more of a missed opportunity when you look at the amount of stars that the Bulls will be seeing in the team tonight? A lot of people have said that with the amount of test experience that you have on your side and the test experience that Bulls have lost in the last couple of weeks, swayed the tenure a lot more on your side, and you guys would have been the favourites already.
Yeah, like there's two good teams going at it. Like I think when you come away to South Africa, you're playing at altitude. It's always a challenge, isn't it? Like because it's different to what we're used to, and we had lots of opportunities, I think, in the game. So yeah, listen, you got to give, as I said all along, like you got to give credit to the Bulls because I think the way they defended in particular, they threw their bodies on the line and they come up with some big moments defensively. So. It's frustrating for our guys, but listen, I can't fault the effort and the character that they've shown today, but also all through the season as well. So it's fine margins in these playoff games. We knew the importance of, obviously you're trying to get home comforts, but we've lost home semi-finals in the past as well. So listen, for the group, they've just got to learn. When we come back in for pre-season next year, we just got to get back to work. This season is unusual because you don't have a pre-season because so many guys were away during the World Cup. So we had a lot of moving parts in terms of this year. We'd say Jack has come in post World Cup, where you're sort of he arrives in December time. We'd Andrew Goodman away during the World Cup as well. So, I have to give a lot of credit to all our staff, backroom team, because there's a lot of effort has gone in to get us to this point, and we're so close to it. And when you lose, it can feel sometimes like you're a million miles away from it. But the reality is, like, listen, Champions Cup final, we're a drop goal away from winning the game in normal time. And today, it's like the game is tied again, right up to the very end. So, it's just making sure we're better in some of those real clutch moments. I think will be the challenge for us now moving forward and the real focus for us. But as I said, you got to go back to the start again, new group, get them together, bonded, work hard, and look forward to the challenge ahead next season.
Two more, MW, and then Ken to finish it off.
I asked you yesterday about the 16th player. How much of that effect do you think that it had tonight? The actual crowd that pitched up in the way that they participated in the game almost.
Definitely, yeah. Like you can see in terms of the response that they get from the Bulls players, and I've heard some of the Bulls players talk about the crowd, and we look back at some of the games, particularly say the Stormers game that the Bulls played here, when it's close to full house, and you see that the lift and the energy that gives. And listen, we've been the beneficiaries of that ourselves a lot this season. Thinking back to some of the great moments that we've had this year. We played a knockout last 16 game against Leicester Tigers in the Aviva. The following week, you have a game sold out. Whatever, 52,000 people it's sold out the following week against La Rochelle. We go to Croke Park again, 82,000 people there. So we've had unbelievable support throughout the course of the season. So we know what that feels like. So, you've got to give the Bulls fans definitely some praise in amongst this piece for sure.
Yeah, notwithstanding, as you say, the result basically came down to one hand in an aerial contest. But for obvious reasons of game management, competing in two big tournaments at the same time, a lot of your team tonight, this would have been their first visit to Loftus Versfeld. Do you think that had any role in the result at all? Was that a factor?
I don't know, is the honest answer. It's experience, isn't it? Yeah. We've been to grounds before where we haven't played in, and you've come away with wins. So I think they'll be better for the experience for sure in the future. So whether that's playing with Ireland in a couple of weeks' time or playing with Leinster whenever we return here next season. So definitely they'll be better for the experience. But I think even if you've been here, I don't think it's going to be any easier when you come back. It's a tough place to come. Bulls have a very strong home record, as you all are well aware of, I'm sure, in playoff games, but in regular season games as well. So, yeah. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
Cool. Last one, Chris. Thanks.
Coach, you talked about moments in the game, and despite that try where that thing was scored on you, where Sergio Peterson went down there, you were still in the game very late, just a few minutes left in the game, about 7, if I recall correctly, and you had phase after phase after phase. You gave credit to the Bulls, some great defense there. Would you say that was probably the moment that you might not have been able to secure that win late in the game, about 74th minute, when you couldn't break through and get that try?
Definitely, like that's it, isn't it? Like, so obviously you missed a conversion, so it's a 5-point game. For us, we're on the attack, pounding away, whatever it is, 20 odd phases, is it? And Bulls hold firm, and we can't quite get across the line, and they come up with a turnover, and we never really get another decent opportunity again. So, listen, it's frustrating from our point of view. You know, we probably had chances earlier on in the game. As I said, in the first half, you go back to that point. You know, if you build a bit more of a lead, it forces the Bulls into playing slightly differently, doing things, you know, trying to chase the game. So unfortunately, we don't get to that point. So, as you point out, like, it's a good aerial contest that they win, and yes, that is the game, unfortunately.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.